If you've ever looked at the person you love and felt your stomach drop before your mind could catch up, don't scroll. Because the night my cheating husband sat down to a candlelit dinner with his new woman, he thought he was starting a new life. He was actually being handed the end of his old one. And believe me, that wasn't even the cruelest part. My husband didn't just cheat on me. He cheated on me with my cousin Tessa, the same woman who held me in her arms after my miscarriage and told me, "You two are strong enough to survive anything." That sentence still makes my skin crawl. For most of our marriage, I thought I was one of the lucky ones. I'm not saying we were perfect. We were normal. Bills on the counter. Coffee left half finished in the car. Grocery lists stuck to the fridge with old magnets from places we said we'd go back to one day. 11 years together. 7 years married. The kind of relationship people described as solid, safe, mature, and honestly, I built my whole emotional life around that idea. I'm the kind of woman who remembers how someone takes their tea. I notice when your voice sounds tired. I buy birthday gifts months in advance because I want people to feel seen. My love language wasn't glamorous, it was consistency, stability, showing up. And Owen knew that. That's what made him dangerous, because men like Owen don't look dangerous, they look dependable. He was soft-spoken, helpful. The husband who carried extra folding chairs at family cookouts. The guy who checked your tyre pressure if you mentioned your dashboard light was on. My mother adored him. My aunt used to say, he's the kind you keep. Even my friends would joke that if we ever split up, they were taking his side in the divorce because he made better sangria. Funny, right? How the people who destroy you are always the ones everyone else would defend first. Tessa was the same kind of deception in a different package. Warm, beautiful in that effortless way that didn't seem threatening because she never acted like she knew it. She was 2 years younger than me, we grew up together, shared dresses, shared secrets, shared grief when my grandmother died. When I got married, she cried harder than some of my bridesmaids. She called Owen basically her brother. Looking back, that should have chilled me. But betrayal never introduces itself as betrayal. It comes dressed as trust. At first, the red flags were so small, I practically tucked them in for the night myself. Owen started working late more often. That's how it always starts, doesn't it? Not with lipstick on a collar. Not with some dramatic perfume cloud. Just inconvenience, little absences, tiny shifts in tone. He started putting his phone face down on the table. Not every time, just enough for my body to notice before my brain wanted to. Have you ever done that? Talked yourself out of what your own instincts were screaming? Because I did, over and over. I told myself he was stressed. I told myself Tessa was just around a lot because family was family. I told myself I was fragile because of the miscarriage. Like grief had made me suspicious and small and unfair. That's the thing no one talks about enough. When a woman starts apologising to herself for what she feels, she's already being trained to ignore the truth. And Owen was very good at training me gently. If I asked why he seemed distant, he'd smile, kiss my forehead and say, "You're reading ghosts again." Reading ghosts. That's what he called it whenever I noticed something off. Tessa became even more present after the miscarriage. She'd stop by with takeout, sit on the edge of my couch, rub my arm while I stared at nothing. She started texting Owen too, supposedly to help him support me. I know that now because I saw the old messages later. Back then I thought she was being kind. Safe people are the most terrifying kind of liar. One Saturday, all three of us were at my house, and I remember this so clearly because it felt stupid at the time. I was in the kitchen cutting strawberries. Tessa walked in, laughing at something on Owen's phone. Not weird, right? Family jokes, casual moment. But the second I stepped in, the laughter stopped, not faded. Stopped. Owen locked the screen. Tessa reached for a paper towel and wouldn't look at me. That tiny sound sat in my chest for weeks. Then there was the perfume, not on him, on the passenger seat of his car, a soft vanilla amber scent that didn't belong to me. When I asked about it, he said Tessa had ridden with him to pick up supplies for my aunt's fundraiser. He said it so smoothly, I almost felt guilty for asking. Almost. Then came the money. We had a savings account we called the Future Fund. It started as a house renovation fund, then became our fertility fund after we decided to try for a baby. Every bonus, every tax return, every piece of someday money went into that account. After the miscarriage, I stopped checking it. I couldn't bear to Owen handled more of the bills. I let him. I trusted him. Big mistake. The breaking point didn't come with a screaming match. It came on a Tuesday afternoon in my kitchen while I was holding a mug of coffee I forgot to drink. My bank called. The woman on the line was polite, almost bored. She said, "Mrs. Carter, we're just verifying the transfer request from your joint savings account to Willow Street Residential Leasing." I actually laughed. I said, "There must be a mistake. We're not moving." She paused, then said, "It's marked as first month, last month, and security deposit." I remember staring at the fruit bowl on my counter like it might explain my life to me. First month, last month, security deposit. When Owen got home that night, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I asked one question. "What is Willow Street?" He froze for half a second, and that was all I needed. Then he did what cheaters always do when the lie cracks open. Not confession, not remorse. Strategy. "It's not what you think. That line should be illegal." I asked him again. He loosened his tie, wouldn't meet my eyes. Then he said Tessa needed a place for a while. I was helping her. That was the moment the room changed, not because I believed him, because I knew I didn't. I said very quietly, "Are you sleeping with her?" And do you know what he said? He sat down at my kitchen table, rubbed both hands over his face and whispered, "I didn't mean for you to find out like this. Like this. Not no, not never. Not you're crazy. Just, I didn't mean for you to find out like this. There are sentences that split your life into before and after. That was mine. I didn't throw anything. I didn't collapse. I think that's what scared me the most. I just went cold. Completely cold, like my soul had stepped out of my body and left a quieter woman behind to handle the details, because suddenly everything made sense. The late nights, the locked phone, the weird family silences, the way Tessa knew too much about my schedule, the way Owen started fights before work dinners, almost like he needed me emotionally exhausted so I wouldn't ask questions. Betrayal doesn't always kick the door in. Sometimes it rinses its wine glass in your kitchen and calls you family. I wish I could tell you that was the worst reveal. It wasn't. I started digging, not dramatically. Carefully, I checked statements, downloaded records, sent copies to a private email. I looked through our shared tablet. The one Owen forgot was synced to his messages. I found months of texts, not just flirtation. Planning, jokes about me, complaints about me, her saying she still thinks I'm helping her heal, him replying, "She trusts you more than anyone." I had to sit on my bathroom floor after that one, because cheating breaks your heart, but mockery breaks your mind, and it kept getting worse. The apartment on Willow Street, paid for with our fertility money, weekend trips, charged to a card he opened using our shared income history, a jewellery purchase for Tessa. Bought 2 days before he told me we should cut back for a while, and then came the family piece. My aunt knew, not everything maybe, but enough. I found that out when I saw a text from her to Tessa. "You need to force him to choose. This sneaking around is messy. Messy. Like I was spilled wine, like my marriage was an inconvenience in the way of their love story. Tell me honestly, what hurts worse? The affair itself, or realising people sat across from you at dinner and watched you trust them anyway?" I didn't confront Tessa. Not then. I didn't confront my aunt either, because by that point, I understood something very clearly. Emotion was the only territory where they could still beat me, so I stopped giving them access to it. I met with a lawyer the next morning, then a forensic accountant, then my bank, quietly, efficiently. My lawyer was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and eyes so sharp they made me feel safe for the first time in weeks. She reviewed everything and said, "Do not warn him. Let him keep underestimating you. Best advice I've ever taken." Here's what Owen didn't know. The house we lived in had been left to me by my grandmother before the marriage. Protected. Mine, the bulk of my freelance design income, had never gone into our joint accounts. It went into a separate business account in my name, something Owen always dismissed as my little backup system. That little backup system became my exit. On my lawyer's advice, I opened a new personal account, redirected my income, documented every questionable transfer, froze my credit, and moved exactly half of our remaining liquid joint funds into escrow, not revenge, protection. Then came the part people always wait for. What I did next changed everything. I found a reservation confirmation in Owen's email. Candle House, Friday night, table for two, 8 p.m. That restaurant mattered because it was where he took me on our first anniversary. Apparently he liked recycling sentiment. I told my lawyer I wanted him served there. She didn't blink. Friday evening, Owen left the house in the blue shirt I bought him for Christmas. He told me he had a late client dinner. He actually kissed my cheek before he left. I stood in the hallway and listened to the front door close. Then I sat down on my stairs and let myself shake for exactly 60 seconds. After that, I got up and kept moving. My lawyer had arranged everything. Process server, filing timing, temporary financial restraints, exclusive use of the house pending the hearing because of the documented misuse of marital funds, and the fact the property was premarital inheritance. I had his keys deactivated from the side entrance and his things packed neatly by a professional mover into labelled boxes. Not trashed, not slashed, not dramatic. My revenge wasn't loud because I wanted my freedom more than I wanted his panic. At 8:17 p.m, I got the message. Served later, I heard exactly how it happened. Owen and Tessa were halfway through dinner. Wine poured, candles lit. She was smiling. He was probably feeling relieved, maybe even triumphant. Then a woman in a charcoal coat walked to the table and said, clear enough for half the room to hear, "Owen Carter?" He looked up. She placed the envelope between his plate and the bread basket. "You've been served. That's it. No speech, no scene, no theatrics." Apparently Tessa went white. Owen tried to laugh at first, like embarrassment could be charmed away. Then he opened the packet and saw the emergency motions, the financial exhibits, the apartment records, the transfer trail. He called me 11 times in 13 minutes. I didn't answer. Then he texted, "Please tell me this isn't what I think." I actually smiled at that because now he was reading Ghosts too. He came home just after 10, only it wasn't home anymore. His key didn't work. One of the movers had left his boxes with the concierge in the side storage room exactly as arranged. The front desk handed him an envelope from my attorney. Inside was a short note about temporary property access, communication through counsel, and where to retrieve his vehicle title copies. No insults. No perfume on the paper, no lipstick kiss on the margin, just consequences. He called from the sidewalk while I watched through the upstairs curtain. When I finally answered, he sounded nothing like the calm, clever man who had lied to me for months. He sounded small. "Can we please talk?" he asked. I said, "You already did, for 8 months. Then I hung up. Tessa called the next morning. I let it ring. My aunt sent a long message about misunderstanding, pain, family, complicated feelings. I deleted it because some truths don't need more conversation. They need a locked door. The aftermath wasn't glamorous. That's the part people don't always want to hear. I won legally. I kept my house. My lawyer recovered a significant portion of the misused funds. The divorce moved faster than Owen expected because he'd been sloppy, arrogant, and very sure I'd be too heartbroken to think clearly. But heartbreak doesn't always make a woman weaker. Sometimes it introduces her to herself. Still, I grieved. Not just him. I grieved the version of my life I thought I was living. I grieved the woman I was before I learned how easily love can be used as camouflage. I grieved every holiday photo that meant something different now. Every late meeting. Every hug from Tessa. Every time I silenced my intuition because I wanted peace more than truth. That kind of grief is strange. You don't miss the person. You miss your own innocence. And that takes longer to bury. Months later, I ran into someone who knew both of them. She said Tessa and Owen didn't last. Apparently once the secrecy was gone, so was the thrill. Imagine that. 2 liars discovering they couldn't trust each other. I didn't feel victorious when I heard it. I felt free. There's a difference. Closure is a fantasy sold to people who weren't the ones left cleaning up. What I got was better. I got clarity. I got my name back. I got mornings that felt quiet again. I got to sit in my own kitchen without feeling foolish. I got to stop apologising to myself for noticing what was real. And if you're listening to me right now while doubting your own gut, hear this. The worst lies are the ones that arrive wearing familiar faces. And the most powerful revenge is not making them hurt the way you hurt. It's making sure they never get access to you again. So yes, while my cheating husband enjoyed dinner with his new woman, a stranger walked up, said his name, and dropped divorce papers right between them. The restaurant went silent. But the loudest thing that happened that night was me finally choosing myself. Tell me honestly, if the 2 people you trusted most betrayed you in the same breath, would you ever trust again?